Hi, I'm Shane. I'm the creator of Push Comes to Shovel with Mantra Games. I'm a solo indie developer.
So Shane, where did the idea for this game come from? It's a really cute game. Like you're shoveling snow is the main core concept, but where did the idea for this come from?
I don't know really. I just like I'm on the East Coast in Canada, so it can get pretty cold here in the winter, lots of snow. But I just like to prototype a bunch of games until one really sticks, so to speak. So I thought, this one's working, so I'm just going to keep going with it.
You'd be surprised how many games are successes that start off as I know this wasn't a game jam, but just as a prototype, as an idea, and then they move on to the next thing or it ends up being huge. So can you talk about like how long it took you to prototype something like this?
Well, I mean, I'm still working on it really. The snow system, the physics and the tessellation is not something I created myself from code. It's just it's an asset, but I kind of fine tuned it for months and months and months until I got it to a point where I was happy with it. And then the atmospheric effects and stuff is something I worked really hard on.
What talk about the mechanics in your game? You can do a little bit more than just shovel snow. You have like combat mechanics and other like side little mechanics in the game as well.
Yeah, it's also something I'm working on. Yeah, you'll be able to hit people with shovels and drive around in cars, and there's all kinds of tools and vehicles you can drive. I just implemented a snowmobile, and so your basic running, walking. I'm also going to have it so maybe you can walk slower in deep snow or faster in lighter snow kind of thing. There'll be sort of an adventure side to it too, where you're going out into the wilderness in your snowmobile and exploring and finding more mysteries that make up the story of the game.
Now, what engine did you build the game in?
Unity.
Any specific reason why you chose Unity over Unreal or other game engines?
I've never actually even used Unreal before. I've always used Unity actually almost since it started a long time ago. So yeah, I've always just been using that one.
What's the hardest thing? Is this only you? Like, do you do everything from the graphics to the coding to the music to the sound effects to the art? Is it 100% you? Do you have like a really small team of like freelancers you hire when you need something specific done?
Yeah, my skills are sort of in putting the game together, polishing it and just making something that's fun to play. I have hired out for instance, the main character. I've hired out for some of the tools, and then if I'm going to acquire funding later on, I'll hire out to replace all the placeholder assets. Yeah, that's sort of my goal is to. But right now, it's all just sort of asset stores stuff, except for the main character and a few other things.
Is it hard making a game by yourself where essentially you get to set your own goals and your own milestones instead of having to go with like a company who has to make sure that stuff gets done on this certain date and this certain time?
Not at all. No, I love it. It's my passion. I've got 22 years of background in in graphic design, graphic arts, interactive design. Worked in all mediums and web and for film and TV. I worked on the TV show Stargate back in the 2000s. Done all kinds of work. So I'm very disciplined.
That's crazy because technology, not just in games, but in film and television has changed drastically over these last 20 years, like completely, it's almost a completely different process now. And how was it like seeing that as you're going through and watching all these technology updates, whether it's in TV, film, or even in video games?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely more of a self-publishing world now. I guess I don't know what the word is to describe it, but you had to go into the office and work your 9 to 5, and yeah, it's definitely a different. There was a lot less entrepreneurs and a lot less artists who worked for themselves, I guess. And when the iPad first came out, I actually did a bunch of. I self-published some kids' educational games that did quite well. So yeah, I've got a lot of experience.
You have a lot of ideas, but game development is such a long process from just getting the concept core idea to getting a prototype working.
Yeah.
Do you ever get overwhelmed? Because it sounds like you've done so much like in your past history with like not just graphic design, but with other games as well.
Yeah, no, not at all. No, I just I love it. I just kind of, I'm very organized with it all. I've got spreadsheets and I section out. Okay, this week I'm going to work on this element, or next week I'm going to work on this. And it could be coming up pretty soon that I might be working with a big publisher, so that would help even more.
Yeah, I mean, like this is a project of passion, but did you ever consider doing like Kickstarter or GoFundMe or crowdfunding platforms for any of your games? It doesn't have to be the snow game particularly, but any other your games that you've done in the past.
Yeah, I actually created a Kickstarter for this one, but I never launched it because I wanted to. My preference was to work with a publisher, for just like the reason that you mentioned before is yeah, just to sort of, you know, get it out there, more exposure, you know, get help with QA and localization and stuff like that. But yeah, I did create a Kickstarter for it. I just didn't hit that button because that is a lot of work, as you know.
Talk about so this snow game. What's been the single hardest thing to implement? Has it been the physics?
Yeah, I'm not a programmer by trade, so that was probably, you know, like I don't really write my own scripts from scratch in C# or anything like that. I use Playmaker for the logic, which I'm pretty good at. But yeah, I think that's probably my weakness is coding.
Talk about like your can you talk about like more on your background, like as a graphic designer? It sounds like you've done like lots of interesting things. Can you give us like a little resume of like your history?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I started in sort of the end of the dot-com boom, late 90s, early 2000s, graduated from tech school in Vancouver, BC. And I was actually working while I was in school because there was still a ton of work in web design and development and graphic design. Kind of started there and then got a job on Stargate, Atlantis, and SG1 as a playback artist, a motion graphic artist. And after that, I kind of started to get an interest in the game industry. EA Games hired a lot of people out west in other fields. You know, they were more interested in hiring people who have different backgrounds. So I was actually offered a job as an interface designer on the first skate game, but I couldn't take that because I had to move provinces. But so I moved back out east and, you know, continued working and started self-publishing my own games.
That's super interesting because I also started out in like television and film and then ended up working in gaming. It's because it's just a different, like that is a really interesting world to be in, especially like in production and post-production. Like but you were in it way before I was, back when I like to say when movie making was fun. Not to say that's not fun now, but like, I mean, I just saw someone release like behind the scenes videos of Ghostbusters 2 and there's all these props and costumes and models and miniatures on this table. Now everything's just on a screen, and that it's not that it doesn't take skill to do that. It's just like, it's just not very fun to watch someone model something for 12 hours and have it digitally in the movie instead of just like being on the table. You can actually put it on and play with it and look at it.
That's right. Yeah. It was more tangible back then.
So Shane, what's the plan moving forward with your game? You have like a set, like kind of, you can do like a closed alpha, family and friends alpha. Like how close is this thing out for someone to actually be able to play it? Demo on Steam, anything like that planned in the future?
I'm not sure. I did want to do an early access, but I might be working with a publisher soon, so I'll see what they think. My goal is to have it out for November of next year, so not this coming Christmas, but next year.
So, and in the meantime, where can people go to support Matra Games and find out what you're working on? And like when you do eventually are able to tell us if you have a publisher and you have like a backer, like where they can find that information out?
Yeah, definitely Twitter is probably the first one, YouTube. Slowly building up the Discord. Those are probably the top three.